Good morning, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. So last week I told you guys how much I spent to set this trailer up and fill it full of equipment. $41,172.37. That is a lot of money, and I told you I did all of that before having a single customer to take care of. Now let me tell you why we did it that way. So before I can tell you why I made all the decisions I made with this trailer and this company, I have to take you back in time a little bit. Now I told you I started this from scratch. Well, that was sort of a truth. I did start this from scratch, but this is not my first time doing landscaping. So once upon a time, a long time ago, I'm gonna tell you the shortest story ever that's probably gonna be super long. So I was 12 or 13 years old and I got my first taste of mowing yards. My dad came in and said, tomorrow when you mow the yard, mow the neighbors. Well, being a good little 12-year-old boy, I proceeded to mow the neighbor's yard without complaining one time at all. Well, when I got done, my neighbor came out and gave me a $20 bill. And instantly, a light bulb went off because I just realized that you can make money mowing yards. So I ran home, showed my dad the $20 bill, made sure it was okay that I got paid. And then I asked him, do you mind if I go mow more yards? He says, have at it. I guess he didn't think I was gonna be super serious about it. So I loaded up my lawnmower and I started walking down the street. There's 30 houses on my street where I grew up. At the end of that summer, I was mowing 20 of them every week, and I've mowed all 30 of them at one point in time. So that's how I got started. That's how I discovered that you can make money mowing yards. And as a 12-year-old, I thought it was the greatest discovery ever because all my other friends weren't mowing yards. I thought I found the secret hack to life that I can make money that they don't know about, and I ran with it, and it kind of spun out of control. So fast forward several years later, I am in high school now, and my little business of mowing my neighbors' yards has turned into something much bigger. So I eventually had to get my dad to help me finance my first commercial lawnmower. I got a 32-inch Exmark Metro walk behind because, well, those little 21-inch push mowers just weren't doing the job. And by the end of my senior year in high school, I was mowing probably 60 yards a week. And it was a thing I think I was addicted to. I enjoyed mowing yards. I enjoyed taking care of people's property. Plus, at 16 years old, I was making way more money mowing yards than I could at any job that I could get making minimum wage. Then came the time to go to college. So I went to college and I tried to keep almost all my yards because I went to the University of Houston. I grew up in the Houston area, so I was about 45 minutes away from all my customers. So I moved all my customers to the weekend for college. So I went to school 5 days a week. On Saturday and Sunday, I came home and I worked sun up to sundown to take care of all my clients. And I managed to do that for 5 years of college. At the end of my 5th year of college, I still had all my customers that I'd been taken care of. But now I'm graduating and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I decided, like any other person who graduates college, I need to get a real job because that's why I went to college. But I didn't stop mowing. So I got a real job. It was the biggest wake-up call in my life because I was now working about 60 hours a week, Monday through Friday, and I was still mowing on the weekends. Well, it didn't take long for me to start doing math that I was making more in 2 days on the weekends than I was all 5 days at my real job. So that's where I decided maybe the real job was mowing. So I ended up quitting my real job and I took my landscaping to a different level. So at this time I had a little 10-foot trailer, an Exmark Metro, a blower, a weed eater, and I was basically a one-man show. Well, I turned that into an 18-foot open trailer. I had 3 walk-behinds, 3 weed eaters, 2 blowers, all the stuff, and I went big. I went so big, I went from 60 yards a week to about 110, 120 on some weeks. I had employees, we had trucks, we actually had multiple trucks, and I did that for the next 2 to 3 years. I was mowing everything. If you had a yard, I mowed it. I mowed everywhere. I had college kids that would come home for the summer and they would be my full-time employees. We would mow Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, non-stop, and then on Monday, Tuesday, we did odd jobs like mulching flower beds and doing all the extra things. I eventually started to get tired of that because it's a lot of work to do that volume of yards and continue to be successful, especially when it starts raining and just things happen. So an opportunity came up where Kevin got to go to the oil field, and that's where I went for 15 years. But I ended up selling my customer list and all my equipment to a much bigger company, so I made out pretty good. But when I was in the oil field, I used to always sit there and think, like, what would you do now if you started it? What would you do differently? how would you do landscaping the next time? Because to me, I think it's an addiction. There's something that gets into you that you really enjoy, being your own boss, doing your own thing, controlling your own day. So this is the part of the story that some of y'all may not know. So after the oil field, me and my family decided to travel in an RV for 3 years. We were planning on doing it for longer, but things happened and we ended up settling down back here in Texas. And when I got ready to settle down, I told my wife that I think I want to start a landscaping company up, but I want to do it differently this time. I want to do it the way I should have done it back in the day. And this right here is a result of me doing it the way I wanted to do it now and the way I should have done it back then. So when you look at this trailer, you're probably going, well, what did you learn from your younger years of doing it that you're not doing now? Well, when I lived in Houston, the business model is very different. There's nothing but neighborhoods everywhere. And it's super saturated market with landscaping companies. And usually there's a lot of big ones, and they will come in and they will undercut you so bad because they're volume driven business. Well, as a individual with very few people that help me out, I have to compete with that. I have less overhead, but I have to mow at a much cheaper price to get yards. Because really in Houston, I think a lot of people are so busy, they actually don't care too much about the yard. They just want the yard mowed and they don't want to have to do it themselves. So the business model there is try to get as many yards as you can for the cheapest price you can, and try to make your routes as close as possible to each other. That way you're not spending a lot of money traveling. So for example, in Houston, I had to have my schedule based on neighborhoods. So I would pull into a neighborhood on a Wednesday and every yard I had was in that neighborhood on a Wednesday. So that's how you make money. You don't travel a lot, but you mow all day long and you just cover ground and you mow multiple clients. So it's a volume driven business. Well, at the end of the day, you work a lot, but you actually don't have a huge amount of return because, like I said, it's a very competitive market and it's all based on price, not usually quality. So when I decided to start this company, I knew I was not going to go after volume because I wasn't going to try to work myself to the bone every single day just to make a little bit of margin. I knew that if I set my business up and my business model up to go after the right customers, instead of doing 25 to 30 yards a day, I can make the same money doing 5 to 7 to 8 yards a day. So we built this trailer and set it up with the equipment to help me do that. Now, where I live is much different than Houston. So that helped me make the decision because I live in a very rural area. There are neighborhoods, but there's not that many of them. And the neighborhoods even have pretty big lots, but a majority of my customers are acres. There are acre-sized lots, 2 or 3, 4 acres. And usually people with acres have things like this. Lots of trees, lots of things to take care of. And what I found is a lot of the customers around here, they have a landscaping company, but all they do is mow the grass. They don't do the trees. They have to call a tree company. Or if they do landscaping around the bushes, they have to call a different company. So it got me thinking that there is a flaw in the business models here, that there is not a lot of companies that do one-stop shops. They just want to mow, or they just want to do trees. They just want to do flower beds. They don't actually want to do it all. So I knew that if I found the right customers and gave them a one-stop shop, I could enter the market, get the right customers, and make a decent living doing things like this because I'm providing something there's very few people around here that are providing. So we set up to make a company and fill this trailer full of equipment to help me achieve that goal, which is quality of yards over quantity of yards, because I've played that game and it's very easy to fall into that trap of saying yes to every job and doing every job because volume equals money, right? No, the right customer equals money. And we found that if you do the job really well and take care of your customers, you get more jobs because you did that, because they talk about you. So I have had no problem getting customers in this area, and most of it's come from word of mouth. I haven't hardly had to spend any time marketing or actually going to knock on any doors to get any customers. They've come and found me because of the jobs we're doing and the way we take care of our customers we have now. That being said, do you guys want to see a breakdown of the equipment in the trailer and why I purchased it and why it's in this trailer? By the way, for all you guys that said that my trailer can't possibly be this clean all the time, well, here's a little bit of dirt. So my equipment is a little dirty because, well, I mowed yesterday. But as you can see, the trailer itself still looks as good as it did on day one. By the way, this is after 5 months of mowing. So we've been mowing all summer. 5 months of mowing, the trailer still looks exactly the way it does. And it'll be cleaned again this Friday, so it'll look even better in a few more days. But let me go ahead and get the Skag out of the way, and then we'll talk about why each one of these things were purchased and what they do for our business. Now that's out of the way, we have an empty trailer. Let's talk about the mower first, because that really is the centerpiece of our business model. We knew we would be mowing lots of acres and covering lots of ground. So we knew we wanted a heavy-duty commercial, zero-turn mower with at least a 60-inch deck. Because there are some gates we go through, but majority of them are right at 60 inches. So we can actually fit that through it. I knew from my previous past, I've owned Exmarks and Skags, and I always found that Exmark was a great mower for a neighborhood scenario, but the Skag was the better mower for mowing big properties. I looked at both. I ultimately settled on the Skag Tiger Cat 2. I looked at the Cheetah and I looked at the Turf Tiger, and I just couldn't justify the difference in price for what I'm using it for. The Tiger Cat does exactly what I need, and it's at a, well, it's not affordable, but it's at a price point that pretty much is, I can make money with that before it's time to replace that, because these are very expensive. So Skag Tiger Cat 2, 61-inch deck. I forgot to mention, the reason we went with the 18-foot trailer is because it leaves me room for 2 mowers. We don't need a second mower yet, but we have room for it, and we're gonna let our customers dictate what the next mower is. Right now, I would have to get another one matching just like this one if I were to go buy one today. But we do have some customers that have some big properties, so depending on how our growth happens, potentially we're stepping up to a Cheetah because we want a 72-inch deck. But right now, 2 61-inch decks will be perfect for us. I had hopes of holding out on possibly getting a 36-inch stand-on mower, because there are some neighborhoods I want to go after, and if the price is right, it makes sense to do those. But so far, all my neighborhood jobs, that fits through the gates. So that's why we have the Skag Tiger Cat 2. Now, as you enter my super dirty trailer, it actually is kind of dirty, I didn't blow it out yesterday, you have all this equipment on the walls. And they all serve a purpose, and there's a specific reason for them. Let's start over here with the weed eater rack. I've always had Echo. I've always had good luck with Echo. I've only ever used a still trimmer or power head a few times, and it just seemed to me every time I had a still, I had a problem with it. It's hard to start. It had running issues. Never had a problem out of these, and all those years I did it before, and so far I haven't had a problem out of them yet. I went with the 2620 power heads because I like them all to be the same, because they're all interchangeable. If I had to, I could borrow parts. I thought about that. So I have 4 things over here, and a lot of people have made comments like, why do you have those things? Well, let me tell you. Top one is a straight trimmer. We only have one. And a lot of people are saying, well, why do you only have one? Well, because we only need one right now. But let me get to the rest of the rack and I'll explain more to you. Below it, this is a tool that is a very big investment, and you don't use it every day. That gets used every single day. This one only gets used on brand new yards, because I like the edge to be really good on the yards that I mow. So when I get a brand new customer, I get the old blade edger out and I make a good edge. Once I use it once, I maintain the edge with the trimmer. But this right here serves a very specific purpose for the way we like to make our customers' yards look. We like to have a really nice, sharp, beautiful edge. And you can't do that the first time with a string trimmer because, well, it's hard to make a perfect edge the first time. It's easy to maintain it once you have it. So this is a big investment, but it serves a very specific purpose because it goes for the look and the quality we're trying to provide to our customers. So the next two are PAS systems, our Pro Attachment Series power heads. So they're also 2620s, but we have all these attachments. Like right now, this is the articulating hedge trimmer, and below it's the pole saw. Those come in very handy. We also have a 3-foot extension, another trimmer head. So yes, I actually have 2 trimmers. So whenever I need a second one, I just pop this one right here on one of those, and now I have 2 string trimmers. We have a tiller that comes in handy for making flower beds. We have another hedge trimmer, meaning I can have 2 pole hedge trimmers and also a handheld on those really big jobs. And we have a brush cutter, which comes in handy when I'm doing tree trimming work. So these 2 right here are whatever we need them to be for the day. which works out well because they're all the same and I can mix and match for the jobs I require. Below that is my steel pole saw. And this is an extendable one, goes up to 16 foot, and it paid for itself on the first job. Like, so the first job I got it for, I had to go purchase it. That job paid for it. That's because I make a lot of money off of taking care of trees. So these two things right here, this pole saw, which is the standard size one, it's not very heavy and you can work really fast with it, extendable one, and these two things up here are my money makers right now. They've been my money makers and they will continue to be my money makers because people don't like to take care of trees that mow yards. So paid for. Those two right there are more than paid for themselves, and they're worth every penny. Those are actually the biggest money makers in my trailer. If it cuts a tree, it is making me money. Now, the hedge trimmers, this one right here, that one right there, and that one right there. I don't necessarily use those every week, but when I do, the jobs are worth having those because that is another good point of money to make. So taking care of bushes and flower beds is my second money maker. So I make a lot of money off of cleaning bushes and shrubs up, redefining flower beds, getting everything looking really nice. And in order to do it easier and not wear yourself out, you need the right tools for the job. So this is a good handheld, which is perfect for small bushes. This is an articulating one, meaning I don't have to get on a ladder to get up above bushes. I can tilt the head, trim the tops without using a ladder, which keeps me on the ground. And this one is a short one, but it's good for a long reach if I need to reach between the house and the bushes and get it really far back there whenever this one is just not working out right. So my number one moneymaker, as you just found out, is actually anything involving a blade that cuts trees. My number two moneymaker is cleaning up flower beds and bushes and redefining landscaping. You want to guess what my third moneymaker is? It is actually not the mower yet. The mower is actually the last moneymaker. I make the least amount of money running that mower than I do the other things I do in this trailer. So my third thing is kind of a two-part thing. It's spraying for bugs, spraying for weeds. So we offer a service where we spray for mosquitoes and that kind of thing and help get rid of the critters trying to get in your house. And for the amount of time it takes to use that, your return is really good. Same goes for this. When I spray for weeds and all that stuff in people's yards, now remember, I mow lots of acres, so I'm doing a lot of spraying. Like most of the time, I'll fill it up 2 or 3 times for one property. The amount of investment versus the return on that and that is huge. It's one of those things that I didn't think I would make as much money off those, but in all reality, those are really good making jobs. And the thing about all this is I've just told you 3 jobs I make a lot of money off of, and I haven't even started the mower up yet. So now my fourth way to make money is actually what you guys think is my first way, which is to drive that Tiger Cat, use this blower, and use that trimmer to take care of people's properties. Well, now when I say the fourth way of making money, it is my fourth, but it's actually the lowest return on my time. So we make good money on the chainsaws, we make good money taking care of flower beds and bushes, we make really good money spraying, and we make pretty good money doing that. But if you look at it based on time invested versus return on money, that pays the least for the time I give it. But because it's the majority of the things I do, even though it pays the least per hour, it's the biggest piece of the pie. Because we don't always cut trees, we don't always take care of flower beds, we don't always spray, but whenever we do, we make more return on our time using those activities than we do that. So that right there is the bread and butter. That's the stuff that happens every week, week in and week out. This stuff happens sporadically throughout the week, but not every day, sometimes not every week. We knew we wanted to mow yards, and we knew that was the way to get your foot in the door, and that was the bread and butter, because if you do a good job, they'll keep telling their friends about you and you'll get more customers. And that's our thing. We want every yard to look like it was our yard. So we got that because we wanted to take care of the customers. And we got all this because we wanted to continue to offer them extra care and extra supplemental work, because that's the big thing around here. People just want to mow, they don't want to do everything. I want you to call me up and say, hey, I got all these things and I want to show up with this trailer full of this equipment and take care of all your things. You shouldn't have to call another company to come do anything if you hire me. It's been 5 months now of mowing yards with this trailer, and that mower. And most people want to know, how do you ever going to pay off this $41,000 bill you have to outfit this trailer this way? We've already generated enough revenue. We've already paid for this. This has already paid for itself. In 5 months, this paid for itself. Now, it's not free and clear as far as it goes for overhead and stuff, but we've generated $41,000 of income in a little under 5 months. So that means I spent $41,000 on this setup, and it'll be offering me about a 2.5 time return in a year. So for me, this made sense. This was a good investment. $41,000, I turned it into a little over 100K my first year. And that's only year one. We haven't added a second mower, and we haven't started hiring more employees. So next year is probably gonna be an even better year because we will be growing. And the reason we did it this year is because I didn't really start mowing when the season started. I had a late start this year. Well, I didn't want to overextend myself my first year. My first year goal was to outfit this trailer the way I wanted it, and I wanted to pay for this trailer. That way, next year was basically just a growth year. We're gonna spend our money on growing our business, getting more of the right customers, and expanding into every little area we can with the equipment we have. I forgot to talk about the most important thing. The trailer. Why do we get this trailer? Why do I have an enclosed trailer? Well, my previous companies, I've always had open trailers. And there was things I loved about them and things I hated about them. One being, well, if you have an open trailer, you have to store it inside because I don't want my equipment in the weather. I don't want it in the elements getting rained on all the time. I don't want people to make an easy target to steal things. And as you can see in my house, I don't really have a place to park it. I can't park it in there because there's things there. If you want to know more about that, go watch my other channel. I talk about the shop more often. But I didn't want to park my trailer in my shop. There's future plans for having its own spot over here. But in my last companies, I always had to rent a storage unit, and that became very expensive. Like, I'm talking to the tune of $300–400 a month just to store your trailer. Also, the fact that you're storing gasoline and stuff in there, you have to have insurance on that trailer at that storage unit in case, well, the gasoline catches on fire. So it becomes very expensive to store mowing trailers at storage places because, well, there's gasoline and flammable products involved. Also, advertising is very hard on an open trailer because it's expanded metal, and all you can really do is make metal signs and bolt them to the side. And over time, they just don't look good because the expanded metal starts to wear, it starts to flake off. The paint jobs you have, they don't last. Really, what I wanted to have a one-stop shop that looks super professional, has everything I need inside of it, and I could advertise. Plus, it's locked up and you can't see anything. So it doesn't matter how dirty my trailer is on the inside, the outside always looks really good and professional, which gets a lot of calls because I park this thing very strategically when I mow yards. So that way, as I'm mowing, it's advertising clearly what I do. Also, whenever I mow, I usually put the door up. That way, there's not an easy target for people who like to, you know, maybe borrow some things and not bring them back. So for the most part, this is my little mobile tool shop with all my stuff I need, but it's also looks very professional and it sets the image for the type of customers we're going after. And that's why we went with this trailer. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different. I had an outline of how I wanted to talk about it. I kind of rambled a lot. When I started this channel, I didn't know I was gonna be making a landscaping company channel. I was gonna be about anything that wasn't about me and my family. Like, we have two channels if you don't know that. One's about me and my family and everything we're doing around the house, and then one's about everything else I do outside of the house. I do a lot of ranching, a lot of tractor driving, a lot of other things, and I do some landscaping. And so far, I did not realize how interesting you guys would think landscaping would be. So I had no intentions of making a lot of videos about the trailer or the company or why we're doing these things. But I mean, I've gotten several phone calls from the videos where people have called that number and they wanted to ask me questions. And I realized there is an interest in this type of thing. So I figured I'd talk to you guys about why I set this up this way, a little history on why I got here and where I started and how I got to this point in life, and why I bought the equipment I did and why I set it up for the business model I did, which is not volume, but quality and the right kind of customers. We were able to pay for this with less than 20 customers a week. So back in college, I was doing 120 yards a week and I made less money than 120 accounts than I do on 20 accounts now. because I have the right customers. Now I know prices have changed and all that stuff. I'm doing a lot less customers for the same money. Is there anything else you guys want to know about this company? Let me know in the comments. Maybe I can make some more videos about landscaping. Hadn't planned on making landscaping videos, but here we are. Hope y'all enjoy them. Anyway, I need to go change my mower blades and I got some yards to mow. So thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one.